And my topic is, what is in the way is the way. And that line is from Mark Napo's book, Endless Practice. But I really thought it spoke so deeply to the things that we teach here. There are several things that I want to get clear for us. There's 5 points that I want to make today, and I'll let you know what they are as they come up. But the first one is, what is in the way is the way. Now that is not in any shape or form to indicate that we are here to learn a lesson, or that we are here to suffer or to make restitution for our sins. That is not why we are here. Ernest Holmes said, and I fully agree with it. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our philosophy, said, I do not believe that God has imposed suffering upon anyone to punish them or to teach them a lesson. We are not here to do that. That's the first point I want to make. We are not here to suffer or to learn a lesson. The second point I want to make is, most of our spiritual life is spent remembering who we are. Isn't that just serendipitous that that's the song that we sang today? Remembering who we are, that we are the essence of God. We are the expression and the outshowing of God. And that there is some part of us that remembers that. But however it happens, we get off track in our humanness and we forget the truth of who we are, that we are the divine expressing. So when I say, this is the third point, what is in the way is the way, the third point I want to make is that we are remembering, we are returning. The way is to remember our divine essence. So what is in the way of our remembering our divine essence is what's in the way of the way. So we're not here to learn a lesson. There may be some unique individuals who really remember from the very beginning without forgetting throughout their lives of that truth, like perhaps Jesus and Gandhi or the high masters of spiritual education. But most of us tend to have forgotten that truth. So we're here to remember our divine nature. I want to just point this out. I think it's really important. There's a phrase that I abhor, and that is, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. If you say that, stop it. Because what you're putting out into the universe is totally negative. You don't need to be stronger. You don't need to be tortured to remember the truth of who you are at all. But stuff happens. And I want to just tell you this story that I heard on NPR the other day about the hero Wesley Autry. Now, Wesley Autry in 2007 was entering the subway in Manhattan with his 2 little girls, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And he saw some fellow who was having convulsions along the side of the subway tracks, the train tracks. And so he administered to him. He and 2 other women saw to this man and thought that he was okay, got him up, and he seemed to have recovered. And the man walked away, and he was a 20-year-old film student whose name I don't know. Anyway, the young man walked away from them, and then out of the corner of his eye, Wesley saw him fall upon the train tracks. and then convulsions. So Wesley got down in the tracks with him, and he was a hefty young man, and he wasn't able to get him back up onto the subway platform. And a train was coming. And it was coming closer and closer. And Wesley wasn't able to get him up. So within just a few feet of the train, the engineer saw them, and he could hear the scraping of the brakes, but he wasn't able to get him out on the platform. So what he did was rolled him in the ditch between the rails, and then got down on top of him, laid down on top of him. And he said, "Hey fella, you don't know me and I don't know you, but we got a situation here, and please lay still." And they were looking at each other eye to eye as the train is roaring over them. That's amazing. That's amazing. And his little girls were on the platform screaming. So it took about 20 minutes for the train to be disembarked, and they had to turn the electricity off. So he and this young man, were laying in the trench, eye to eye, for about 40 minutes. And he could hear his children screaming. And there was just this cacophony of noise. And finally Wesley screamed, "Would everybody shut up?" And nobody knew that they were alive. They made an assumption that something really not nice had happened. And in that moment of his yelling, there was this whole silence on the platform. And he said, "Let my girls know I'm okay." And he said, the worst thing that happened to him was that his cap was covered with grease. The train had come that close to him that it covered his cap in grease. Now this happened in 2007. And just recently he was interviewed by NPR. And this is the part that really is about what's in the way is the way. He said, Wesley said that as he was going over the platform into the subway rails, he was reminded of the time that someone had held a gun to his head, pulled the trigger, and it misfired. As he was going over the platform, he remembered that, and he had this flash that that's why he was saved that day, that the gun didn't go off. I think that is an amazing story. And what happened then, of course, is that after he had this experience, he remembered his spiritual nature, the truth of who he was, that he had been chosen to be on that platform, to lie on top of that young man. That was the way for him. The way for him to remember who he was. So if we allow ourselves to use the negative experiences that we have to expand our souls, what is in the way becomes the way. Andre Agassi said this. I kind of like it. I've been motivated by overcoming challenges and overcoming the hurdles and obstacles that face me. I've been motivated by overcoming challenges and overcoming the hurdles and obstacles that face me. There is still plenty out there to get motivated by. We all have more opportunities to be motivated by our challenges and our obstacles. Leo Buscaglia said this. I always say that wrong, I think. Anyway, you all know who I'm talking about, Leo Buscaglia. He said, there are two big forces at work, external and internal. We have very little control over the external forces, such as tornadoes, earthquakes, floods, disasters, illness, and pain. What we really have that matters is the internal forces. How do I respond to those disasters? Over that, I have complete control. So that the things that are in our way, the challenges and the obstacles, the adversities, we have a choice as to how we respond to them. We can allow ourselves to be run over by the train, or we can take charge of how we respond and know our own soul's power. What is for us to do is remember that place in us. Mark Napo called it a thread. I call it a core. Our core essence, that part of us that is pristine and sacred and untouched. That sweet center that is our God self, the spirit of who we are that we are expressing. That can never be sallied. That can never be besmirched. It is the truth of who we are. It's pure and clean. And no matter what happens to us, no matter what people say to us or do to us, that center, that core, is what we are remembering. It is the way that we are looking for. The purpose, presence, the essence of our expression of spirit. Now, when we talk about adversity, there's a little story that I kind of like. It's the thought that if you take two identical acorns, and if you plant one acorn in the forest and one acorn on a hilltop by itself, the acorn in the forest has to compete with the light. It has to compete with the nutrients. It's in the shadow and then the protection of the other big oak trees. It is leading a pampered, sheltered life. But the acorn that gets planted on the hilltop, the wind-swept hilltop, it grows strong and powerful because of the adversity that it faces. It's by itself, and the wind is whipping around it, and it must just spread its branches to receive all of the nourishment of the hilltop. And its roots go deep and spread out, and it becomes strong. And so the adversity that tall, lone tree experiences is what makes it such a magnificent, powerful, healthy tree. They've done studies about many famous people. There was a book that I don't even remember, I just remember reading it, about 100 people. And one person of that 100 successful people, one person had a nurtured, what we would call normal life, Barbara Walters. All of the other 99 successful people came from challenging, upsetting, disturbing, what we would call dysfunctional families. And that dysfunction and those adversities and those challenges, they attributed to what caused them to rise above the crowd and to be successful and to be powerful. So when we talk about our adversities and we talk about our difficulties, Barbara Rose, who's an art critic and an art historian, said this: even the most daring and accomplished people have undergone tremendous difficulty. In fact, the more successful they become, the more they attribute their success to the lessons learned during their most difficult times. Adversity is our teacher. When we view adversity as a guide towards greater inner growth, we will then learn to accept the wisdom of our souls. Let me repeat that last sentence because I think it's rich. When we view adversity as a guide towards greater inner growth, we will learn to accept the wisdom of our soul. So at this time, at this moment, think of some of your challenges. Think of what may be going on in your life, the trials that are difficult for you. And rather than turning away from them, rather than trying to set them out of your life, either ignoring them and denying them, or trying to fix them so that they don't hurt so much anymore, think about and consider turning toward them, facing them. And this is hard, I know. Give thanks to them for the gift that they are bringing you. The clarity of who you truly are, that are indicating and showing to you the perfect power within your own essence, your own soul. Give thanks for them and invite them to show you the message that they have come to bring you. Adversity is a gift. What's in the way is the way. What's in the way is making your soul expand. It's allowing you to become more of who you are, to become a deeper, richer spiritual being. So one more last quote. This is from Ernest Holmes. He said, "We may stumble, but always there is that eternal voice, forever whispering within our ear, that thing which causes the eternal quest, that thing which forever sings and sings." So I'm going to repeat to you the 5 points that I really think are important here today. And I have them written down, and I'm going to tick them off on my fingers. Number 1, we're not here to learn a lesson. We're here to allow Spirit to express itself through us. Number 2, this is a vanity, you know? Number 2 is, most of our spiritual life is spent remembering who we are. Number 3, what is in the way is the way. That means that we're remembering our divine nature. What is in the way is the way for our soul to expand into its greatness. And number 5, adversity is an opportunity to deepen your reliance and your faith and your resilience and your dependence on Spirit. Because when adversity comes, you have a powerful tool, and that is prayer. So how about if we do that now? I'd invite Reverend Aaron and the practitioners to stand and join with me. Now, reminding you that these are professional people, and there's an opportunity for you to put a prayer request in the box, or Steve will be in the practitioner office after our service for individual prayer if you'd like. So join with me now as I allow myself to move into that knowing of who I am. As I allow my soul to expand with my true nature. As I allow myself to ease into and relax into any adversity, any challenge, any difficulty that I have, knowing that it is bringing me closer and closer to my true nature. Knowing that I can trust the universe to work with me for my benefit, for my soul's benefit. And as I use prayer, the divine tool, I know that answers come to me. Solutions are shown to me. Circumstances and situations flow together for me. And with the divine power and the divine presence, I know that I shall triumph. Each of us is a unique expression of the divine, and we are here to allow that essence to grow and expand, to be of service, and to be in love. So I call forth for each one of us now at this moment our God essence, knowing and trusting that no matter how things appear, how they seem to be, all is well, because all is God. And I feel deep peace and gratitude. So I invite you to join with me in that knowing and in that deep peace and gratitude by claiming it for yourself, by joining with me as we say together, and so it is. And Amen.